Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Dear viewers and listeners, Assalamu alaikum. In this monologue, I am going to discuss and explain different allegories, aphorisms, and parables that are used in the glorious Koran to guide heedful mankind. The purpose of selecting this somewhat unusual topic is to highlight the fact that how does glorious Quran stir and evoke human wisdom by employing the simplest statements of wisdom. Perchance human beings may mend their ways for their own salvation. All parables, allegories, and aphorisms will be spotted with reference to relevant verses of the glorious Quran, also called Kitab al-Furqan, the only extant and impeccable scripture authored by the Creator, the merciful God, Allah. The glorious Quran may state a parable alluding to a creature of any type to make its message clear to the heedful mankind. For example, chapter 2, verse 26 of Quran reads, Allah does not disdain to give a parable about a gnat or a larger creature. The faithful know that it is the truth from the Lord, but the unbelievers ask, what could Allah mean by this parable? By such parables, Allah misleads many and enlightens many, but He misleads none except the evildoers. This verse makes it clear that Allah Almighty may refer to any type of smallest insect like a gnat or a bigger creature in the glorious Quran to guide mankind through parables. The purpose of such examples is to evoke human wisdom so that they may discern right from wrong and try to mend their ways. However, the unbelievers will make fun of such a reference without applying common sense, and thus they will be misled for their own destruction, while the believers will focus on the implications of such a reference to mend their ways for their ultimate salvation on the Judgment Day. Let's explore and understand some of the parables, allegories, and aphorisms mentioned in the glorious Quran to guide heedful persons. Polytheism is the worst and the gravest sin mentioned in the glorious Quran. So there are several verses that condemn this unpardonable sin through parables and aphorisms. The glorious Quran uses simple statements of facts to warn the polytheists. Perchance they may abstain from worshipping their false gods. For example, chapter 22, verse 73 of Quran reads, O mankind, listen to this aphorism. Verily those on whom you call besides Allah cannot create a single fly, though they combine to do it. And if a fly carried away a speck of dust from them, they could never retrieve it. So weak are the seeker and the sought. This verse makes it clear that those human beings who practice any form of polytheism, ranging from idol worship to seeking mercy of prophets and saints, are sheer fools and condemned persons. Allah Almighty challenges their wisdom by stating that their false gods cannot create a fly, and even if a fly carries away a speck of dust, they cannot retrieve it. The simple parable makes it clear that a person who cannot even create a tiny creation like a fly, how can he give guarantee to other human beings that he may change their fate in the worldly life and in the hereafter? It is a sheer ignorance of the worst type. Unfortunately, majority of people belonging to all faiths live in this satanic notion and with their own hands carve out hell for themselves. On another occasion, in chapter 29, verse 41, the glorious Quran reads, The false gods which the polytheists worship besides Allah may be compared to the spider's cobweb. Surely the spiders is the frailest of all dwellings, if they but knew it. This aphorism compares the fragile powers of false gods with spider's cobweb. Now the question arises, who are the false gods? The false gods include all creations of Allah, such as human beings, jinn, heavenly bodies, angels, and so on. Since they are all creations, they are themselves dependent upon the all-powerful Creator Allah. Common sense may question the wisdom of worshipping a creation in the false hope that such a dependent creation during its life and after its death can be of any help to other creations. Definitely, no sane person can ever indulge in such a ruthless foolishness. In fact, it is an eye-opener to all those persons who are indulged in polytheistic practices under any false pretext. All believers in every faith know that Allah Almighty will never forgive a polytheist whatever come may. Another aphorism is beautifully depicted to reflect the state of mankind on doomsday in chapter 101, verse 4 and the following verse. On that day humans shall be like scattered moths. The reference to scattered moths is significant in this verse. We all know that moths may get killed in thousands and their dead bodies are scattered in the most pitiable way. The reference to moths in this verse makes it clear to human beings that with the first blow of trumpet on the doomsday, all living human beings will die and their dead bodies will lay scattered like the dead bodies of moths. This shows the petty worth of human beings, who always boast when alive, not knowing how vulnerable they are. This reference also shows the might of one Almighty Allah, that how He can destroy all creations instantly without seeking anybody's permission or help. If human beings know their true worth and the vulnerability of their life, they would never be scornful and proud. Rather, they would lead a humble and modest life as per commands of the glorious Koran. The glorious Quran also uses allegories to warn those human beings who ignore message of revelation sent to various prophets and follow man-made religious beliefs that conflicts with message of Allah as ordained in the Quran. For example, chapter 7 verse 40 of Quran reads, "The gates of heaven shall not be opened for those that have denied and scorned our revelations, nor shall they enter the gates of paradise until a camel shall pass through the eye of a needle. Thus shall the guilty be rewarded." This verse contains several important reminders for heedful mankind. The phrase, "those that have denied and scorned our revelations," is significant. It categorizes disbelievers of Quran into two categories. First, those who deny verses of glorious Quran under different pretext. Secondly, those who make fun of Quran in any manner. For example, insisting that Quran is not complete, so they must rely on man-made tradition falsely attributed to any prophet. Such persons are denying clear verses of the glorious Quran that command that Allah Almighty has explained and highlighted every bit of information in the Quran that is part of faith. For example, chapter 18 verse 54 reads, "In this Quran we have presented every kind of description for people, but man is more contentious than any other creature." This verse is a clear warning to those who doubt completeness of Quran and resort to false traditions and other sources of man-made information, especially when such an information either conflicts with Quran or it is not part of Quran. Such are the disbelievers. The phrase, "until a camel shall pass through the eye of a needle," is a reflection of an impossibility. Since we all know that a camel cannot pass through the eye of a needle due to its sheer size and the tininess of the eye of the needle, therefore Allah Almighty makes it clear that disbelievers of Quran will never enter paradise. Similarly, chapter 74 verses 48 to 51 of Quran read, "No intercessor's plea shall save them. Why then do they turn away from this reminder like frightened asses fleeing from a lion?" This verse highlights the fact that all persons who deny Quran in any manner shall perish in hell. Such persons are compared with frightened asses who flee from a lion, implying the fact that this category of human beings abhor Quran during their lives. They find no time to read and understand Quran for their own benefit. They remain indulged in worldly pursuits at the expense of life in hereafter. The phrase, "no intercessor's plea shall save them," warns that even if Allah Almighty may ask anybody to plead mercy for sinners on the judgment day, no mercy will be granted to disbelievers of Quran. This is an eye-opener for majority of mankind who do not believe in the glorious Quran. The glorious Quran also uses parables and aphorism to warn mankind in general terms. For example, chapter 7 verse 175 and 176 of Quran read, "Tell them of the man to whom we vouchsafed our signs and who turned away from them, how Satan overtook him as he was led astray. Had it been our will, we would have exalted him through our signs, but he clung to this earthly life and succumbed to his desires. He was like the dog which lolls out its tongue whether you chase it away or let it alone. Such are those that deny our revelations. Recount to them these parables so that they may take thought." The phrase "he clung to this earthly life and succumbed to his desires" is a manifestation to the fact that earthly life with desires for money, status, and worldly passions is a detestable act in the sight of Allah. Such persons remain indulged in worldly life, ignoring life in hereafter till the time death overtakes them. They are the most wicked of all creatures. Allah has compared such persons with a dog who remain confused between different situations. This is indeed a clear warning to all greedy and worldly persons. The mankind is warned to keep their gait modest and voice low through another aphorism. Chapter 31, verse 19 of Koran reads, "Rather let your gait be modest and your voice low. The harshest of voices is the braying of the ass." In this verse, Allah has compared a scornful person with an ass. There is ample wisdom in this aphorism. We all know that ass is a bovine animal and its voice is also rated as grating. So a scornful person bears the attributes of an ass in the sight of Allah. On another occasion, the glorious Quran compares disbelievers of Revelation with donkeys. Chapter 62, verse 5 reads, "Those to whom the burden of the Torah was entrusted and yet refused to bear it are like a donkey laden with books." This verse illustrates the truth that if Allah Almighty entrusts a person with spreading the message of Holy Scriptures and he or she ignores it, then they are like donkeys in the sight of Allah. The example of such persons may include the priest class and persons engaged in spreading the message of Quran by personal choice. If, however, they ignore the message of glorious Quran and indulge in mixing the truth of Quran with falsehood of man-made stories, they are like donkeys. They cannot differentiate between the truth and the falsehood and rather become spreaders of lies against Allah and His Prophet. May Allah protect us from such persons' evil designs and keep us on the path of glorious Quran. Ameen. Now I may summarize the purpose of parables, allegories, and aphorisms used in the glorious Quran. The purpose is simple and logical. We all know that parables, allegories, and aphorisms may be used for the following purposes in real life. A parable illustrates one or more instructive lessons or principles. The objective of an allegory is to teach some kind of a moral lesson. Aphorism is a statement of truth or opinion expressed in a concise and witty manner. The glorious Quran therefore employs parables, allegories, and aphorism to serve all these purposes to convey its message. Perchance mankind may mend its ways for its salvation on the judgment day. I conclude my monologue on allegoric aphorism and parables in Quran with a prayer that Allah Almighty may bless this effort and may incline the listeners of this monologue towards reading and understanding the glorious Quran, also called Kitabul Furqan, or a touchstone to distinguish right from wrong. Ameen. Please do subscribe and share my channel for updates. It's free.